Good morning, Trinity Baptist Church. Today we keep going through Philippians chapter 1. I'd like to go through a little bit at a time because I figured there is no rush, and this is a good book, the Bible. So here we are in Philippians chapter 1, verses 12 through 18. Paul's going to start out by talking about what has happened to me, which is that he is in prison. But this is what he says. Philippians 1, starting in verse 12. I want you to know, brothers, that what has happened to me has really served to advance the gospel, so that it has become known throughout the whole imperial guard and to all the rest that my imprisonment is for Christ. And most of the brothers, having become confident in the Lord by my imprisonment, are much more bold to speak the word without fear. Some indeed preach Christ from envy and rivalry, but others from goodwill. The latter do it out of love, knowing that I am put here for the defense of the gospel. The former proclaim Christ out of selfish ambition, not sincerely, but thinking to afflict me in my imprisonment. What then? Only that in every way, whether in pretense or in truth, Christ is proclaimed, and in that I rejoice. This is an amazing thing that he says going to prison has actually been a good thing, because many people have been saved. And many people are now more bold to speak the word without fear because they've seen the way I proclaim the gospel here. And even when people are preaching the gospel somehow to make his life in prison harder, whatever that looks like, he says, well, Christ is proclaimed. And if Christ is proclaimed, then I rejoice. As I was reading this morning, I was thinking, for me personally, I have been planning for 15 years to be pastor. I've been training in some ways for 15 years to serve as a pastor, and never once did I think, I hope that I will start pastoral ministry from my bedroom windowsill 3,000 miles away from my church. That was not what I ever imagined or wished. It's still not something I wish. But if it in some way advances the gospel, and if this season of us having to figure out how to worship from home and minister to one another from home and follow Jesus from home somehow makes us more bold to speak the word without fear, because we realize, it doesn't have to be how it always has been or how we've expected. We can continue to follow Jesus in every phase of this. If through all this Christ is proclaimed, then I rejoice. It's not what we would choose. And in many ways, there's a wrongness to it. There's a wrongness to Paul being in prison. There's a wrongness to people proclaiming Christ out of selfish ambition. But God is not wrong. And God is in charge. So we have great hope, great reason to rejoice. And I would encourage you to reflect on these circumstances with me, admitting that certain parts of it are just not how they should be, and not how they will be when God restores everything and makes everything new. Yet in the midst of it, God is at work. He is spreading his gospel. Christ is being proclaimed, and we have good cause to rejoice. Praise God.